I'll go back to this.
Okay.
Because they can sound not much more powerful, less effort. And the sax is very Yeah, yeah. How you doing? Thanks for coming out this afternoon. Like you have a choice. My name is Steve Russo, and I'm a trumpet player. And I've known Ron for 25 years now. We've been playing gigs together. And so, if anything, out of all of the people, different bands I hear and different directors, we've played so much together that I know exactly how he plays. And we agree a lot on style and articulation. And then especially if it's his band, then he tells me and the sax players how we're going to articulate. So there's no question about that.
That's right.
All right. So that said, you guys sounded good. It's a very good band. I don't know if you get to hear other bands. Did you guys come a little earlier and hear some of the other groups? Or at Folsom last month?
I heard Aerosmith.
Okay. And I don't know if you heard other groups at Folsom that you can compare yourselves to. You know, but the band sounds good. Oh, did you plug in?
Yeah.
Oh, what? I want to talk about a couple, and actually everything I'm going to say, you've probably already heard. Okay, you've probably already heard. The thing that we try to do as musicians is we want to try to be consistent throughout the whole performance, whether it's, you know, a whole night where we're playing 3 sets of music or just 3 tunes. We want to try to be consistent with everything we play. And that's something that we're always striving for. And so a lot of the comments that I'm going to make, again, you've probably heard before some of the specific musical stuff, but if you hear me say it and you think, yeah, he's told us that before, then it's just really a reminder to try to remember to do that every single time you play. You know, for example, my most common thread throughout the whole thing was when you guys get louder in the bigger sections or shout sections of tunes, excuse me, I hear you're articulating a little better, a little clearer, a little bit more pointed, like tonguing harder. But when you're softer, it sounds almost like an easier concert band type sound, where it's not as articulated. I kind of lose the energy that comes from the harder articulating. So don't misunderstand hard articulating for just loud playing, because even when you're softer, you can do da, do da, ba do da, 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 do da, da. You know, when you have offbeat stuff, you can still tongue a little harder and still keep it soft and it'll groove harder. Does that make any sense to you? So like, when I say that, think to yourself, how do you physically play when you're tonguing stuff soft compared to loud? And is what I said something that kind of holds water when you're playing? And you know, you don't have to answer, but just think to yourself. And hopefully on the recordings of the judges that do the scoring, you know, maybe after you get done listening to their comments and all of that, if you listen to them again to try to zone out their comments, just so you can hear the, you know, the recording itself of you playing to see if that's true. Like when you're softer, is it as driving as when it's louder? You know what I mean? Okay, so let's just go ahead and take a look at the first tune, Afternoon in Paris. Was there something that happened like rhythmically or the groove or feel that just happened out there? Or it seemed like...
I fell down.
Huh?
I totally messed up the second.
So it's just one of those things.
It was the brushes, and they just sounded really far away, and I just was like a bar ahead. Or like not even a bar, like a couple beats ahead.
when like the A section came in.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know, and me
It was a
here,
normal thing.
yeah, me hearing you just for the first time, you know, I don't know if that was like, yeah, because, I mean, there isn't anything weird on the chart. So I don't know if it's like, you know, that seems to happen all the time, or
It's the first time.
just one of those, okay, no big deal. Because I just wrote down, you know, keep the groove going into the A section of the tune. So that's fine. Okay, articulate more. You know, you guys do a really good job, and I expect that, knowing Ron, when you have ensemble stuff, like going into 33, the whole ensemble's got a nice big crescendo thing, right? And you guys do that really well. He's directing it, you're doing it, you're following it. Keep that same idea, even if the chart doesn't say all crescendo, depending on what it is. Like, if you've got an ensemble thing that's supposed to be under somebody else, but then it switches where you're supposed to be on top, you know, bring it out more. So do even more of that stuff, not just when he's directing it, if that makes any sense. Now, looking at that same spot, when you did that crescendo going into 33, the articulation there is what I'd like to hear early. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, let's go ahead and play some. We'll just start at the beginning so you get used to it. And then we'll see if we can get the articulation a little harder in the softer sections. Okay? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I wrote that down too. You guys that have that melody, you gotta be really clean and clear with it. It doesn't sound real clear. Okay, now I don't know if it doesn't sound clear because rhythmically it's just not lining up, or if you're just not really clean with the part yourself. Is that the tenor and the trumpet? Okay, so it's gotta sound like one instrument, you know? So try to really, he can't hear you. He can't hear you as much as you can hear him. Okay, so you gotta try to make that blend, all right? Do you see in bar 6, dot, dot, dot? That sounds like dot, dot, dot. It doesn't sound like bop, bop, bop.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about.
You know, that's the kind of thing I'm talking about, where if you tone a little bit harder, as a whole group, okay? And then let's see if we can get 9, really zero in. Try to really get that perfect, okay? 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And it could be just proximity. I'm standing right here now, out there, I'm way in the back. So the further back the sound goes, the more it sort of like melds together, you know? So you have to be, in a theater, you have to be really crystal clear about the articulation, okay? So talk to each other. How are you articulating, and how are you articulating the part? That part, you know, tonguing, slurring, that stuff.
I'm tonguing all the notes except for the triplet, because the jump is easier to do the 1 to 1.
Yeah, you could even almost ghost that low G. It's the interval skips are not a problem for them. So for us to try to make it swing better for brass players, we could sometimes ghost that low note, you know, and it'll come out clear. Okay, so how are you articulating it at 9?
At 9, I tone the first, second, and third note.
And you're doing what? Tonguing almost all of them?
Yeah, the first.
So So that's what I'm driving at right now. What I would do if I was playing this part, I would get together with the sax player, just the two of us, and sit down. 'Cause I did this a long, long time ago with an alto player, because my articulation didn't sound good on like bebop lines. And I wanted to know how specifically he was tonguing, and we sat down and looked at every single note. And I made him point out, okay, I'm slurring from this note to that note. I'm tonguing that note, slurring here and here. And then we started doing that, and that's when it really started sounding tight, because we were both articulating exactly the same through that line, okay? There's no, like, I was tonguing all of these notes, he was slurring it, and vice versa. You know what I mean? So you could be playing it perfectly clear, you could be playing it perfectly clear, but if we're not phrasing it exactly the same, then it doesn't sound as clear anymore, right? Just like, I mean, if half the band slurred a scale and half the band played the same scale but tongued it, it's gonna sound different, right? So that's kind of what I was driving at. If you can be very specific about how you guys are articulating that, and then the extension from that is ensemble things, same thing. You know, usually the lead alto and the lead bone and the lead trumpet will get together, and if we question it, we've even done this in the past, where the lead sax player would look back and say, hey, how are you playing this? You tonguing that last note, or what do you know? So that we're all in agreement, so that the ensemble sounds really tight, okay? So that's what I'm talking about through anytime I say articulation on here, it's either that hard tonguing or making sure we all agree on how we're articulating, okay? Okay. I didn't notice so much in the brass, but sometimes when you guys have long tones or sustained parts, sometimes the intonation gets a little interesting. Okay, so really do the best you can to listen across and try to get the intonation as good as possible. Okay, just occasionally it sounds like you're fighting each other. Okay, next tune. Overall balance, you guys play bigger than any group I've heard so far. Most of the sax sections don't, and I'm telling them all, whatever the dynamic is, take it a step up. You know, the brass players are usually louder than reed players, you know, just because of the directional instrument, and you're not directional. But you guys play nice and big. You guys play big, so your volume was good, your volume was good. You guys were getting buried a little bit. So you definitely gotta play bigger, okay? If they were weaker, and I don't mean just playing wise, just volume wise, it was a little less, you'd probably be okay. But the sax section is definitely strong. You gotta step up. Because some of the tunes you did is, I don't remember if it's this one, there's a lot of like counter melodies or counterpoint going on.
Probably this one.
And I was losing. I had to really listen to hear you guys instead of just sitting back and listening to it all. Okay, so is that somewhere in here?
Where everybody's playing at the same time, but.
Yeah, but there's a lot of different lines going on at the same time. Yeah, that must be it. Yeah, because I wrote down more of the counterpoint or counter line on a DS because I wasn't sure exactly where it was in the tune. So how about we go ahead and do like from 5, pick up the 5. And then when we get to 13, see if we can't get the bone to play out a little bit more.
Want to
Okay.
count it up?
Sure.
At 5? 1, 2, 2, 2.
constantly play out. Okay, yeah, you don't want the saxes playing bigger than you. Okay, constantly play out. Are we all
Ask
clear?
them if they've ever heard that before.
No, well, that's why I preface everything. I start the whole thing, what did I say at the beginning? I'm not gonna say anything he hasn't already said before. And hopefully this is just a reminder that what he says is holding water, it's true. You know, we can't hear it out there. It's a cool part, you know, that particular thing. Everything is good, but that particular part's really cool. Are we all really clear on how that part goes, like in measure 12? This is another one of those cases where, to me, like in concert band, they say the rhythmic precision, you know, everybody's just lining up. So we need to make sure that we're all lining up just right on that. Saxes, are some of you going and not when you're playing? Because it almost sounds like at 5, into the 2. Are you guys really tonguing? No, I'm honestly asking because it almost sounds like it's breath instead of, okay? Yeah, I just like it a little more percussive tonguing. But yeah, that was better, but I gotta keep saying blow more, blow more, blow more. All right. Okay. On the last tune, what was that? So at the beginning, when you're doing you do the tune out front before you start it, right? You do a couple of choruses before you start?
We have the bass is just starting by himself, and then we add the rhythm. He does 2 choruses, then there's 2 choruses of piano solo.
So, after you're done with the first chorus, or maybe the second chorus when somebody else comes in, can you vary it a little bit instead of just the walking bass line? You know?
We tried a little bit of that. We ran into some time problems because of it, so we decided at this stage to stay with the.
Okay, gotcha.
Because we got squirrely and.
Yeah, because it sounded, when I'm listening, again, right, no hearing you beforehand. So I hear somebody that sounds really solid, you know? You sound really solid on the line, and the time is good. The time is good. So then, as a musician, you know, I want to hear, okay, can you vary it up a little bit? So that's why I'm bringing it up, you know, because I just assume that, okay, you can play around a little bit, you know, so that's where I was going with this, you know, and, but I understand that's the smart thing to do, don't try that. But let's try it now. So let's see if we can do something, even if it's as simple as maybe digging a little harder on 2 and 4, to make it swing a little harder after your first chorus, okay? All right, go.
Same time?
No, first time. So you vary it a little bit on the second chorus, but then when you get to the turnaround, like the last 2 bars or so, go back to straight time. a little accent on 2 and 4, and maybe a little into the thing. So this way you can play around a little bit, okay? And it doesn't have to be crazy busy, just play around a little bit. And then on the turnaround, like I said, just come back to straight time with a little drum roll leading into the piano solo. So let's do your second chorus. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't rush, relax. Yeah, just a little bit of variation. That's cool, that's good. Yeah, that's it, that's it. I thought all the solos are going along really well. You guys meet every day, right?
Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday? Okay, and then what do you do for improv?
We start off with blues right at the beginning of the class, and most of the guys will.
Yeah, the solo stuff's going pretty good, so there's just not enough time to get all the ensemble stuff cleaned up and all the phrasing and articulate, all of that stuff, and try to teach improv. There's just not enough time. So for you guys that are all soloing, the solos sound good, you're gonna have to work on it a lot on your own and listen a lot on your own outside of the class, which he's probably told you too, just because there's not enough time to do it all. In college, you got big bands and you got combo classes for improv, separate, So to take your solos up to the next notch up, you really gotta take it upon yourself and listen like crazy and if you can listen and go get with a private teacher or something, if you wanna get your soloing chops even better. But it's a good group. How long you been in now?
It's our 4th year of having a complete big band meeting in the morning.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better. It's gotten a lot better, because I think I heard some of the original ones, like at one time,
Yeah.
So it's good. It may be painful, but you gotta thank him for his efforts. Thank you. He really does all your parents too. But it's a good group. Thanks for listening, and thanks for trying some different things. Look forward to hearing you again.
Music to the section leaders, please. Then we're gonna get our pictures.